First of all, Mr. Wilson of Cardi, I fully agree with him on investment being the key. Maybe we could discuss that further later. Regarding the question from the representative of Australia, I think we welcome this. What if, given its status, Australia, I think, could really do two things, should take the lead in two things. One is in trade and facilitating the more effective participation of small countries and weak countries and LDCs in global trade. A regime that is purely based on liberalism, open markets, will be counterproductive and will not achieve the sorts of goals that we're talking about today. The other thing that Australia can do is probably, and it was a little worrying recently to hear of likely cut back by 20% in aid. Given its status, again, it sends a signal. The impact will not only be on the current beneficiaries of Australia's aid, but also the rest of the world. You know, people might now be more empowered to follow that example of cutting back. So maybe these two messages could be taken back. Thank you.
Thank you. Adi?
Just quickly with Australia, I'd love to talk with you over the next few days about those issues. But the gentleman from the Caribbean about the sharing, in the Pacific, the Secretariat of the Pacific Community actually does give out a whole lot of crops that are being trialed around the Pacific and getting results back. And it would be a lovely relationship between them and maybe IICA and Cardi to get the Caribbean perspective. We've been working with the Caribbean through support of CTA and learning from their examples of taking the farmer to the tourism and using cuisine as something that the tourists can go with. And we've actually got a program aimed at SIDS where we want the farmers to grow as much as possible for the people who are going to come into Samoa. And that's been a really great sharing. And I think just the sharing between the two regions is going to get more, with CTA support, UNDP support, I think this is something that's going to grow. Thank you.
Thank you, Adi. Carmen?
We all must eat as much as possible, wherever possible. Produce what you can and make wise food choices.
Thank you. Gibson?
Thank you. Maybe just to respond to the gentleman's question on model farms. Yes, the Secretariat of the Pacific Community, under funding support from USAID, we're actually doing trials on model farms for resiliency to climate change. And like I said earlier, SPC is housing one of the biggest collection of tissue culture in the world. In fact, we have the highest number of dash-in collection in this tissue culture center with SPC. And we're using all these collections, different tree species, staple crops that are observed to have some resiliency, to trial out in these model farms. We have about a total of 6 model farms already established in 6 different countries. So we're very interested to work with any other partners to share some of these findings and lessons from these model farms we're promoting in the Pacific. Just to maybe conclude by responding to G20, I'm very interested to discuss with you with some of the priorities in terms of food security we're looking at and some of the gaps that needs to be urgently addressed in the Pacific. And if we can sit down somewhere later this week, we can talk about this. Thank you.
I don't have much to say, but on the tourism thing, linking, although Fiji started with grow Fiji and use local, grow local, use local, but I think the problem with the hoteliers is they want a quality and constant supply. So that's what we are looking at. How can we produce consistently and produce quality? And the other thing is, we are producing things, and I think the nutritional aspect. Give you an example. In Fiji, we have among the grains, watercress, which is the richest source of iron supply, and yet we sell our mothers to the pharmacies to buy the pills, iron pills. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I think you will all agree with me that this has been a very rich discussion. It's quite difficult to cover such a wide range of topics with many speakers within 90 minutes, but I think we have done reasonably well. All the material is actually available. All the speakers produce PowerPoint or written presentations, and all that will be made available online, or you can contact Samson here, who would make that available. I think, Samson, you can probably share your address with people. But anyhow, it will be available online. So it's yeah, so we're doing that. So basically, we won't attempt to summarize the discussions. As I said, we cover quite a whole range of areas. And one of the key things that came out is that we have a good opportunity for networking during the week, as was illustrated by the representative from Australia. So I hope people will get more opportunity to interact and discuss. So thank you all, and thank you for the panel members for their interesting interventions. So let's give a round of applause.